Welcome to the NBA Coast to Coast podcast brought to you by thelines.com. Coming to you from the West Coast, Josh Lander, joined as always by Nate Weitzer on the East Coast. And it is Friday night props that we are looking at here in this video for you guys. Got a 10-game slate to look at, so we got plenty to choose from. We are getting early to these things, looking at some early lines and props as they are coming up right now on a Thursday night, so we can get you some value, hopefully, here with what we are bringing you guys. Make sure to like and subscribe to that page. We've also got a couple game videos up for you on this big slate. We also want you to head to thelines.com. That's where we put up all these props and a bit more there up on the site. Got plenty of content for you guys, and the odds finder tool is up there as well. We use that every morning. Make sure we're getting the best odds available to you guys as we're picking these play-up props and such. Nate, let's jump into your first prop for the night.
Yeah, it's a game we're going to talk about the Kings and the Suns, and talk about the Suns' lack of depth and lack of scoring options outside of Devin Booker. So I'm going to hit his prop at 32 points, and I'm also going to take the over on 2.5 turnovers, which is minus 150, because he's just going to have the ball in his hands an absurd amount of times, without KD and without DeAndre Ayton. Like, this is a holy shit split right here. His last three without Ayton, 45.7 points per game on 38% usage. No KD for any of those either. I mean, the last two with the injury, and then the third previous with before KD came on, and Book dropped 56, shooting 63% from the floor. He does have 4 turnovers, more turnovers than assists. So I initially thought, like, let's tack on the assists because he's going to be playmaking, but it's just not happening. Like, there's just nobody else scoring for the Suns right now. The last 5 conference games since losing KD, Book is scoring 36.5, only 3.5 assists, though. 33% usage, shooting 65% from the floor. Again, just absurd efficiency. And, this is a matchup where he can continue to do that. The Kings are terrible against shooting guards, giving up the 4th most points to them in the last 15. They're giving up the most assists overall since the break, and ranked dead last in opponents' effective field goal percentage since the break. So it's a bit of a continue to be right matchup for Book, considering what he's done. And his last 2 trips to Sleep Train here, 37.5 points per game, 4.5 assists, a 35% usage rate, and nearly 40 minutes per game. Look, the Suns, we talked about them maybe being content in their spot at 4th when they're playing the Lakers, but it's getting down to the nitty gritty here. I mean, they've lost 5 of their last 6 of the last 7 or so. They're going to have to really claw for a win here. We don't think they're going to get it, but I think Book's going to do everything in his power to keep them in it.
I concur. Let me start by apologizing to the good people of Golden One. It's the Golden One Center now in Sacramento. Right. Sleep Train is no longer able to sponsor them. Regardless, really nice arena, by the way, if you get a chance. And yeah, I expect Book to just do the same thing he tried to do against LA, which is make up for a lack of good players, depth. Mikal Bridges had 32 points tonight, just pointing that out. And it's tough for anybody to really believe in the Suns when, if you're relying on, it's not like Booker and Paul just carried them before, KD got there. There were a bunch of other guys that you'll remember that helped them get to the championship and be a top seed in the West last year. And, Book's still going to do everything and more. He's just going to go off. And it's one of these things where, kind of like when you got to bet on Steph Curry, the season that he was playing without a bunch of people, and it was like, look, he might drop 50 tonight because he's going to pull 15 3-point attempts or 20 3-point attempts or whatever. And Book's in the same booked position tonight, and this sack defense at home is just god awful. We'll talk about it more in that game video about it. But yeah, they're porous all over the floor and everywhere that Book's going to want to make some points tonight, including 3-point land. So I'm fine with taking Book on a pretty high prop still. So now we're about to go back-to-back Splash Bros. I'm just going to ruin it for everybody and say I'm going with Klay Thompson. And I said to Nate before we started recording, like, it feels like a Klay Thompson game. And he's like, why not both? And I'm like, yeah, why not both? Playing against the 76ers team that just lets guards go to town on them. And, Harden may or may not play. I don't think it matters that much. Maxi's not going to do much in there either, except for speed things up and allow for there to be more points. And honestly, like, Klay can shoot over either of them, even if he does get a bit of like Tobias Harris, super slow-footed Tobias Harris. I'm fine with that as well. at this point, it's just Klay embodies this awful Warriors team on the road as much as he does this amazing Warriors team at home. He's averaging 25 a game at home and about 18 and a half on the road, gets you over this 20 and a half points, which by the way is minus 105 on DraftKings. Very happy to be bringing that to you on Thursday night. So we can, as that probably won't be remaining by the time it gets to, let's say Friday, late at morning, early afternoon, and people start hitting it a bit more. But he's at like 5 threes at a 42% clip at home on the season, which is absurd. Even in his last 10 games, and I made sure to get my stats on Klay's last 10 games at home when Steph was not there, because Steph has missed a few home games in the last 10 that Klay's played there. So go all the way back to when he has make sure he's playing with Klay. He's still gone over this prop in 8 of those 10 games. The games he failed to were those weird ones where they lost to the Mavs at home, and another loss that they had, I believe, like the Raptors. That was a really weird game as well. But he's still putting up 27 and a half points a game in those with Steph on a 29% usage, right? So like, it's not like Steph's taking any of his shots away necessarily. He's still playing 35 minutes in that time as well. People want to say he's slipping in terms of his like athleticism or whatever, but he's back to full strength and stamina and able to run those 35 minutes. And even in those last 10, pretty much the same numbers as he's had at home, more than 4.5 threes on a 40% clip. So it's going to be an opportunity for him to score against a team in the 76ers that has been scoring a ton of points on the road, but that hasn't necessarily translated to them being able to stop people nearly as well.
Yeah, there's definitely going to be a play for the over here, even though the Warriors have been so good on defense. I mean, as long as Embiid is ruled in, we're probably going to have a better idea of that by the time this airs tomorrow. I mean, he's questionable with what calf soreness. He's probably fine. He's probably going to put down another stamp on his MVP resume and keep this game close, which to me makes 20 points extremely low for Klay Thompson. Like, I don't see a world really where the Warriors are in a game deep into the fourth quarter and Klay isn't scoring 20 unless he's 100%. Just like ice cold from 3. Just in my initial evaluation of the Sixers backcourt and how you beat them, I think it is more guards off the dribble. The Warriors offense, point guard, shooting guard, doesn't matter what you classify them as, right? It's just free flowing, assists, threes. And that's why I like Steph as well. I mean, I mostly like, again, 5 threes is plus 125. Like, are we not expecting this to happen, DraftKings? Or are you just like giving away money? Because that's what they're doing here with these free promos. And in the Boston area, they are literally giving away money in the first 10 days of sports betting. But Steph, 2 home games since the return, 29.5 points on a 30% usage rate, has hit 10 threes in those. His last 10 against the Eastern Conference, averaging about 10 threes, about 31 points with a higher usage rate than against the West, 32%. Hasn't really gotten this matchup. I mean, certainly Philly's a different team since he faced them in 2021. He was ice cold on the road against them, 3 for 14 from deep, but then hot at home, 6 for 11, 25 points. So he comes up short on the points here, 26.5. But that was a 20-point blowout because Joel Embiid was not playing. And Steph was a plus 29 in that game. Of course, the Warriors had Wiggins, and they were a much more cohesive team. Or capable team of just running away from people. I'm not trusting them to run away from anybody, and definitely not Philly. I mean, they won 9 of their last 10 road games here. Embiid is undeal-wittable, and I think as long as this one's close, both Splash Bros, you got to like having their props on your side.
Yeah, I agree. And as soon as I see what Joel's props are, by the way, I'm going to hit him. I expect him to play. Doc Rivers said he expects him to play. All the news coming out of around that questionable tag was based on him coming out of the game at halftime while they were winning 76-48 against that Bulls team in that second game of a back-to-back against them. So I don't think he's expected to miss time. They were like, why would we bring him out there at all? We can just say he has a sore calf and he'll be fine. Then you put the questionable tag on, but there's nobody on this team that can deal with him. Not that he's deal-wittable to your point, but like, man, does he love playing against someone who he can either bully you down to the basket, or even if he has to, he'll just shoot right over you. Draymond, good luck. Like, this is one of the 2 to 3 centers in the league that Draymond's never been able to guard. Throw Jokic in there as well. Probably Anthony Davis, not really deal-wittable by Draymond either. So it's a very short list of centers that are taller and bigger than him that he can't deal with. And this is just one of them in Joel. So, probably excited to hit some of his props, even though it'll probably be like 33.5, something around there. I would still say he's got to get 35 on a Friday night, making a case for his MVP, right? He's going to go balls to the wall. So I'll have fun betting on him as well. And now I'm going to take one that is a little bit risky, but I mean, it's so high for Kristaps. His points is at 28.5. That's his prop tonight. And if you go under on that, you get minus 105 on DraftKings. This is just an excuse for us to talk about the man who will be doing some of the guarding against him on the San Antonio Spurs. Sandro Mamukelashvili nailed it on the first try. Give the man some respect, man. I mean, he's played 27 minutes in the last 4 games. Mamukelashvili needs some respect. He didn't come all the way to the NBA like this to be told that he's going to let up 29 points to Kristaps, who has only done that once in his last 9 games at home. And I gave him the benefit of the doubt because he scores more at home than he does on the road by just a tick. And Bradley Beal and Kyle Kuzma are out. So that's why this prop is so high. The Spurs are the Spurs. I don't want to say they suck because I won't disrespect Mamukelashvili like that, but they're not great down low, and they allow a lot of points in the paint as well, which Kristaps might be able to do. They're a little bit better against the 3. They've been better too, by the way, in their last 4 games since Mamukelashvili started getting some actual minutes in there at 27 or so a game, and their defensive rating has gone down from like 119 to 116.8, and that's good for 17th in the league, very close to top half, and then they're 18th-ish ranked in a bunch of other defensive categories that matter. They're getting rebounds, and they're limiting second chance points because of that. So it's just too high, man. Like Mamukelashvili is going to be able to get in there at 27 minutes a game. You're going to get some, Bates Diop in there as well. But like, it's just too many points in a game that who cares about this game? The Wizards don't seem to care. They're not even playing their best players.
Wizards are like 28th in offensive rating in their last 7 games too. So like, yeah, I mean, who's setting up Porzingis? Like what kind of electric offense are we seeing here to go through the brick wall that is Sandro Mamukelashvili? Grew up pounding rocks in Eastern Turkey. I honestly don't know anything about the guy, but their defense has been better since he got in there. I mean, maybe the second coming of Jakob Poeltl for them, but yeah, you never know with the Spurs when they're actually going to try to. And Keldon Johnson's ruled in, so that's a sign that this could be a competitive game. But if it's not a competitive game, then how's Kristaps going to get this if it's a blowout? Yeah. So I mean, it's just way too high, like you're saying. I'm not trusting Kristaps Porzingis to get 29 points in any matchup right now.
Agreed. And one quick aside, once as we pivot away from Mamukelashvili, did you see that it was a 20.5 point spread for the Spurs against the Bucks the other day? And I believe they covered, which is wild. So the blowout could happen at any moment against anybody for the Spurs team. I think that if you look at who's going to be playing for Washington, like they're not even going to be good enough to necessarily blow out this team, but like maybe double digits by the 4th. And to be honest, like why would you play Kristaps more than like 32-ish minutes in a game that you don't really care about? And to be honest, you might as well try to get out of the play-in right now. Washington's a terrible scenario. I do not envy that team right now. But at any rate, that is all the time we have for you in our player props today. So make sure to like and subscribe to that page. Also check out the game videos we have for you on this big slate to end the work week. And until we see you next, happy betting.